You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show. Welcome back to another episode after a hectic week of Euro 2024 qualifying action. I'm Mark Wiltshire today, joined by Keke. Hi, Keke.
Terve.
By Ali. Hi, Ali.
Moikka.
And the long-anticipated return of Mark H. Hi, Mark.
Moi. Hey.
Good to have that voice back on the pod. I'm sure that all the listeners will be as excited as we were when we saw your name pop up on the screen. We're going to look back at Finland's first two games in this Euro 2024 qualifying campaign. Started with a 3-1 defeat away to Denmark and was followed by a 1-0 win in Northern Ireland, which leaves Finland with 3 points, along with most of the other group, because there was a bit of a surprise on Sunday. Maybe we'll come to that. But which means that all of the teams are basically trailing the early leaders, which is Slovenia. Okay. Let's talk about how this came to pass. The referee's blown his whistle for this match report special, two-headed match report special, and we'll talk first about the Denmark game. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm watching at home, I've started making copious notes of the games. All this, there's yellow squares for yellow cards and balls for goals and all sorts, so that I can flick through it. So because otherwise I won't remember any of it, and we're recording this about 6 days after the game, so I'd be done. But let's talk about Denmark. We said beforehand that, you know, we think a point away to Denmark would be decent. It would be a good start, followed up by 3 points at Northern Ireland, and we'd be off to a steady start there. But Keke, first, talk a little bit about the Denmark game as it started to progress.
Well, first of all, mate, the Denmark game left me feeling that why did the association game go for 90 minutes rather than stick with the rugby code timings and call it time at 80 minutes, mate? Because we would have escaped with a nice point there.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it was. To be honest with you, you know, we all said it. Denmark are probably the strongest team in the group, but you've alluded to maybe that's not the case. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I thought after a bit of a dodgy start, Finland really sort of grew into the game. It was sort of what you'd expect. It was they'd gone away for a moment. I do think that if they'd have come away from there with that point, they would have been happy. But you know, you've only got to look at the stats and see how many sort of chances Denmark had. Luke had an absolute stormer, come away with man of the match despite conceding 3. So that tells you the story of the game, really. I think there was some decent performances across the park. I mean, Oliver Antman obviously popped up with a goal. That was his 3rd in 4, I think, for the national team. So yeah, he's obviously done well. Poor old Nikolai Alho had a bit of a torrid time, and yeah, the defence, all in all, looked like it would get penetrated eventually, and yeah, that's obviously what happened with the 2 late goals.
Yeah, I thought that I made a note here that sort of during the first half that our midfield was looking pretty sharp. Maybe from some of the comments that you guys made in WhatsApp, Kaan Kairinen wasn't the sharpest of that midfield, but I thought that Glenn Kamara was just having a good game, winning the ball back, and was sort of everywhere, and was maybe keeping us in the game and progressing forward still, even at that early time before Denmark. I wrote that note, and then Denmark immediately went and scored, and that was on 21 minutes. This young fella Højlund, who made a hell of a name for himself over over the weekend. Denmark broke down the right, low cross into the box, and he sort of poked it home past Lukas Radetzky. Mark, were you seeing signs even at that stage that these vulnerabilities were showing?
Yeah, I think what you said about the midfield was right. So if you look at Kamara, Antman, and Lod, they look pretty solid. They're all very good on the ball, and they can all deal with their opponents either physically or with pace. I think Kyren, he's a tidy player, and so he's not. It's not necessarily that he's sort of bad. The challenge is, like, if you think back to the Tim Sparv time, he was never really sort of flair or flashy. He was just Mr. Reliable. Like, he would always move the ball around and he would always keep possession. And the problem Kairinen had is that they put him under pressure very quickly, the Danes. And so he just, a couple of times, he either got caught in possession or had to make a snap pass that ended up either missing his target or just going straight back to the Danes. So in the midfield, we started to get overrun. And then what Keke said about Alho, it's also a bit true about Jens. I think Richard Jensen's normally a centre back, so it was a bit odd. I feel quite odd in general, like having watched Kanerva play three at the back infuriatingly for like 3 years and not changing it. Now that we've got three centre backs, he's sticking with a 4-4-2 for some reason.
And
you're
putting
like,
one of those centre backs at left back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, what happens? And for the goal, we got done a little bit down the flank. We didn't react quick enough, and then the cross in, we were a bit, both Ivanov and Vaisinen were a bit static. But I think, having said that, everybody's a bit surprised with this Hoyland kid. Like, I think he plays in Serie A for, is it not
Atalanta, I believe.
Thank you very much. So yeah, he's still new on the scene there. I think he's only got like 7 or 8 goals, but he looks absolutely like unstoppable. He's quick. He's good with his feet. He's good in the air. He's a unit. This kid looks like he could be something. So as he nipped in past Vaisinen, who was a bit was a bit delayed, and he prodded home. I think I was more impressed for that goal. I was more impressed with how quick he was rather than how bad our defending was. It was just, we just weren't ready for him.
Yeah, I would agree. He also I was watching it back maybe about an hour ago, and he checks Vaisinen about 3 times. So yeah. Vaisenen's literally in an absolute tizzy. And yeah, I think you're right, Mark. I think you have to applaud that goal rather than poke holes in what we were doing defensively, I think, because it clearly shows that for a young kid, he's rapid, but he's also very smart up top as well. It was really good movement, to be fair.
I think there was also, for us, following on from that goal, we had some possession. It continued to be fairly even, but some really poor crossing from us. Balls into the box from both sides, and I think there was an occasion where, instead of going down the wing and getting the ball closer to the byline and whipping one in, Alho stayed deep and then put this sort of slow, floated sort of diagonal ball in. And there's nothing really for the defenders to do there. We weren't really maybe creative enough around the Denmark box. But Keke, just right on half time, Robin Lod was quite creative in his own box. But that ball came, Denmark cross came from the right and kind of bounced off of Lod's shoulder and caused Luque to put off quite a save.
That's it. I mean, I'm not sure how much Robin knew about it. It sort of hit him in the chest or shoulder area, and dramatically flew towards goal, and Luque had to sort of stand up for us again and pull off maybe it wasn't even the first, but one of a string of decent saves. Yeah. But that would have been cruel, you know what I mean? That would have been really, really cruel. So I'm glad that Luque managed to spare Robin's blushes there.
And it wasn't long into the second half, 53 minutes, that Finland pulled the game back by what more than one of you cruelly suggested was like a goal from Wimbledon in the 1980s and early 90s. Keke, talk us through that goal a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we scored that goal, I mean, Mark will tell us a bit more, but I think that was the tactic all along, because the way that our defence was sort of messing about with the ball and passing it between each other and trying to draw the Danes on, I think that the idea was to just sort of draw the Danes right onto us and then try and pop one over the top for sort of Teme or someone to run onto. But yeah, that's sort of how it worked. So that's how we sort of managed to score. I mean, in the first sort of instances, we were managing to draw the Danes on, but then not really moving the ball quick enough ourselves. But as you said, mate, in the second half, it worked to a T, and Antman popped up with his third goal in his fourth appearance. So yeah, 1-1, and we're all thinking, here we go.
What do you think about this tactic, Mark? About of letting the team come on and trying to get them on the break?
So it was quite a bit similar to the Euros. I mean, if you look at the Danish squad, one of their biggest weaknesses is Kjær. So Simon Kjær is a international defender, years and years of experience at the top flight, but he's with experience comes a little bit of a lack of pace. So if you can draw the Danes forward and create a little bit of space in behind, you're always going to catch him flat-footed, and that's exactly what Pukki and Antman were able to do on the combination. I think it was Radetzky that knocked it forward, Borgenpalo with the flick on. Teemu Pukki can, like, I mean, I just love the fact the way he gets around the ball. He touches the ball once just to lay off Antman, but in his sort of shimmy around the ball, he sends three defenders like halfway across the pitch to make the space. Just the way he moves is so beautiful. And in the end, once Antman had got the other side of Kjær and had a bit of space, his finish was pretty composed. It was nice and easy.
Brilliant finish.
But as a tactic, it was pretty dangerous because to draw out the Danes, we had to do a lot of sort of playing on the ball at the back. Like both Even and Weisen are quite comfortable with the ball at their feet, but it means there's a lot of minutes where you've just got your heart in your mouth going.
Yeah.
And what do we feel about this? Okay, 4-4-2 or 5-5-3-2, whichever formation, but playing Richard Jensen at left back didn't seem like a natural fit to me.
No, not at all. Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, we talk about our problem with wing backs, whether that's in a 3-5-2 or in a 2, and I guess maybe. I mean, Denmark pretty strong down there, down Bar as a right back. Like forwards, he did create their first goal, but. Yeah, it definitely feels like from an offensive point of view, it means that we are certainly lacking. But maybe the 4-4-2, they went to that because they hoped that actually we were looking for more solidity other than bombing wing backs. But yeah, maybe it was an experiment worth trying in the first game and the first away game of the campaign. Whether it succeeded, I'm not so sure.
Well, I mean, I think they went for it because if you look at Bar and Mehle on the other side, like those are two very quick, very capable players. And if you go one-on-one against them, particularly with the squad we have at the minute, like we don't have Uronen or Raitala or, even the days of Albin Granlund, he's not there. So we're not blessed in the fullback position. And so to counterattack or to deal with Bar and Mehle on the other side, you kind of have to have double up on them, and I think that was the plan. It was in one sense it's a bit of a shame as well because like Jensen kept getting into these really good positions deep on the flank, and you've got Pukki and Pohjanpalo waiting with like Lod hanging about, Kamara hanging about, for something to happen. But again, it's also not Richard Jensen's fault. No, I don't think Rivia might be the first coach in history that said, "Hey, Richard, can you do me a favor and pump in a bunch of like 40-yard pingers into the back post?" Because
can you do it away to Denmark as well?
Exactly. He's never been that kind of player. So yeah, so it was a bit of a tough ask for him. But yeah, I mean, I can understand why they did it from a defensive point of view, but I still think, I don't know. I think the other point is, Suhonen I think he was the option on the bench from a fullback perspective, and then was it Olila maybe who came on?
Yeah,
That's not.
it went a bit.
That's a hard place to learn. You know, away to Denmark's not really a place where you want to test the kids out. So.
And then, as Keke said, we get to the last 10 minutes. It's 1-1. It's been 1-1 for half an hour or so. And then it sort of fell apart, I suppose. 82 minutes, there was a corner that was flicked on at the front post, headed back into the 6-yard box, and there was a flying header from 1 metre, and Højlund powered it home. After that, we had much more possession. Denmark got a bit sloppy, but then still managed on 90+3. Laramie went down the left, pulled it back from the touchline, and Højlund again inside the 6-yard box to drill it home, and it was a tough ending to the game.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, go on, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, it was. So I think by then Alho was on fumes. You know what I mean? So he'd been given a bit of a tough night of it overall. I mean, the way we play again with the 4-4-2, Lod tucks in, and Alho's expected to run the length of the line, which he did a couple of years ago. I think he was able to do quite easily. But these days, I think he's knocking 30 now, and I think it's a bit of a big ask for him to keep doing it. And when it got up to sort of 80 minutes, you could see him running out of puff a little bit down the right-hand flank. So I think he got... He was never the most stable of sort of defensively. His talents were always best going forward, but then as he gets more and more tired, you start to see the holes appear.
Yeah, the other thing that I was going to say is obviously you mentioned Richard Jensen, not maybe in a position that he's so used to, but when he went off with a little knock and Thomas Olila came on, and I think he's only 22 years old, obviously, but yeah, it wasn't a 10 minutes or 15 minutes that he'll look back on fondly. He 4 minutes after he come on, he picked up his first booking, I think, and yeah, it was downhill from there. Really, it was he didn't have much luck, and yeah, Denmark managed to sort of take advantage of that.
And so we ended the game 3-1. Disappointed maybe with the scoreline. Disappointed not to have picked up something a bit more, but we'd hoped for a point, but maybe not necessarily expected it.
I think it was gutting because, as I said, Lukad had an absolute stormer. We'd seen Denmark knocking on the door, but up until that last 10 minutes, we'd managed to sort of keep the score at 1-1, and it really did feel like a tough defeat. I thought 3-1 was a bit cruel, They especially with the last goal coming quite late, it did feel like a cruel defeat, really.
Anyone got any other observations on the Denmark game before we pause and then head into the Northern Ireland game? Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it felt bad because we'd gone so far, we'd held out for so long. But I think if you look at the game, we might have got off lightly. I think this Højlund kid, he's going to get better and better and stronger and stronger. And I think Luke had to make 4 or 5 world beaten saves. He had a really good game. And on another day, this could have been sort of 6 or 7 from our side of it. We had that one. We scored the goal in which, so Pohjanpalo, perfect one-touch flick on, Pukki, perfect one-touch pass, Antman, perfect one-touch finish. So everything clicked for that goal to come about. We didn't have another good chance.
Yeah.
So we didn't have another way to get back into this game, and Denmark just, I mean, we could have been absolutely hammered. I mean, 3-1. We might look back at that and think, if this Højlund kid gets angry against Northern Ireland, and they play like they did against us, they could smash those guys for 6 or 7. So -2 might not be that bad of an outcome for us.
What do we think about the formation then? because sometimes sort of 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, whatever, can be seen as a bit defensive. But do we somehow need to get a bit more creativity down the wings and a little bit somehow this player? Okay, Lod was there, but he was out on the right hand side of midfield, and that seemed like a bit of a waste. Valakari's been in and around the squad. He's not even in it at the moment. There's Robert Taylor, who can do, who's been skillful and creative on the left-hand side of a wide midfield. And also Purusori, okay, he's in and around the squad again now, but they're sort of players that have had that little spark in and around the box in the past. And do we need to try and find a way to get them, some of them anyway, back in and around the team?
I think Rive, especially with this Denmark game, Mark, I think Rive was just maybe all of those players you've mentioned who do have qualities and who have been employed in this sort of wing back role are probably a little bit too attacking for Rive in this Denmark away game. I think he would have looked at it and said he needed guys with a little bit more of a defensive mind. I mean, as I said, we've seen Robert Taylor and Purusori employed in those roles, and you've seen them where they're closing down players and trying to track them as the forwards trying to go past them. But I don't think that's their natural game. Their natural game is to have their head up and go forward themselves. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. I just think Rive's a little bit more conservative than that.
It's fair. It's a fair point, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the formation when we come on to the Northern Ireland game, and then maybe what we might expect a little bit further in the future. Mark, was there something?
I haven't been on for so long that I've got just so much to say.
Well, you might have just been scratching your beard in a thoughtful way, and I thought you were.
Yeah, it's true. And also it's itchy a lot of the time. But I think, I do think that, if you look, most Premier League teams, for example, always have sit with a midfield three. And I think the question for Rive is why don't we ever kind of go with a sort of standard midfield three, particularly when you think about somebody like Robin Lod, who doesn't really have the pace to be a winger. You know what I mean? And he's okay. He's also all right defensively, but he's not great defensively. You know what I mean? And you think, well, if you put him, if it was Kyrian, Kamara and Lod in a sort of midfield box three, and then there was another winger out sort of wide on the right for an out ball, wouldn't that would make Kyrian's life a lot easier, because he really struggled in the midfield too. We didn't really, you're asking Alho to do a lot of the running, the legwork up the right flank when Lod tucks inside. And Lod's technically probably, if he's not, maybe not up there with Pukki, but he's one of our best players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's sort of in this system, you're kind of wasting Lod as a sort of right attacking midfielder or right winger. It doesn't seem to make sense. So I don't know. There was a lot of square pegs in this for the Denmark. In this 4-4-2 in general, and I don't understand why we don't just have sort of a midfield five with wingers. The other point is Ant-Man. It'd be nice if Ant-Man had a bit more leverage to go forward, because he seems really exciting when he's on the ball. He's not as clever defensively like most wingers. But I don't know. I'm sure Rive will see this and go, Mark.
I was thinking we're not starting the Rive out campaign, and I'm not suspecting he's listening to us for tips and advice either. But there's something going on there. Let's take a break there. Okay, and that break gives me the opportunity to show you our new designs, Keke. I've been talking about this all year that I haven't got around to making new designs. And here it is. So I had, if you remember last year, the designs had the letters, and it was kind of the team names or the initials of the team with our logo running through it. And I thought, what about if we have a panel with our logo repeated and then the name of the team? But I thought not the team, but maybe the town or the country. And as we're here talking about the Hulkiet, I thought I'd start today with our new Suomi t-shirt. And there you can see the logo up front. And I've just snuck it in the corner down there. There's a little 2023. So these are all limited edition, limited by the fact that they're only available this year, and that none of you people listening or watching buy these t-shirts. So some of them don't even exist. That's how limited they actually are. I made these and uploaded these at the weekend, and I've already ordered. Me and Lady Sutter, we've got a Suomi t-shirt each, and I've got a Seinäjoki one for myself as well. And we'll show these over the coming weeks and months as we work through the whole collection. As always, there's all the different styles and sizes. So there's male fit and female fit and different shapes. One thing I noticed is that a lot of the female t-shirts seem to be shipped from the USA. Doesn't make it that much more expensive than the shipping, but coming into the country and having to pay all your import duties and whatever, especially when the t-shirts are priced at 25 euros as they currently are. When I ordered mine, they were reduced. They were 18 euros. I might just sneak under that VAT threshold. I'm hoping I can get away with it. I don't want to pay any more to the man than I actually have to. But just also have a note that there's other bits and pieces available. So there's a whole range of apparel, t-shirts, long sleeve tops, hoodies, whatever. Also phone cases and laptop cases, and mugs, tote bags, and pins as well. So I think when we get onto the t-shirt I've made with just the Finnish Football Show logo, that might make a nice pin badge as well, just the logo standing there loud and proud. So remember, we don't control the prices on TeePublic. We get a little cut for each t-shirt that's sold, and it all goes towards the running costs of the show. And I looked into the account the other day, and we've made 70, 80 euros from this, and that's several months of website hosting or podcast hosting or whatever. So every little bit counts. And more to the point, how smart you will look wearing a t-shirt like that. I know that our listener Jamie often buys the Ilves t-shirt, so I sent him the design before I'd even published it, and he was like, "Oh, I like that Tampere." He said, "That shows the other clubs in Tampere that the city is really green and yellow." He said, "I'll be ordering one." So hopefully that order comes through soon, but no pressure there, Jamie. We've also got the Buy Me a Coffee page, so you'll find the link just below wherever you're watching and listening to this. Same thing, any donations go into the kitty for the running costs, and also on the website there's a donate page on our homepage, so you can donate there. But we're going to see now, before we restart the second half, we're going to have this returning feature, Mark Hayton. Jasilla Sipuli. You definitely have to explain this and remind everyone how this works.
Yes. Okay. So Jasilla Sipuli is, and that's an onion, and it's what Finns say to anybody. Just say, okay, that's the way it is. So that's how it goes. And in football, there's various different sort of local colloquialisms or terminologies that the Finns like to dish out. Today, I think I'm going to go with suoraan puhelimeen, which is straight into the phone for the direct translation. Okay. And that's when you take a football straight in the smack in the face. Suoraan puhelimeen.
Okay.
Nice.
When I'm watching football in Finnish, I don't often hear the onions, but I do sometimes hear people say Jasilla Sipuli. And I actually heard it around the dinner table a couple of months ago when one of the teenagers was acting up, and Lady Satu said, "Jasilla Sipuli," like that's how it is. Get on with it. Put up with it. And I just started giggling because it reminded me of sitting here talking into my laptop with you guys. And she's like, "Don't laugh when I'm telling the kids." So sorry, I learned to behave. Okay, I think that's enough shilling for one show. Let's move on to the second half. And yes, Keke, that is the sound of Keke rubbing his hands for the conversation about Northern Ireland 0, Finland won. And Keke, you were over there. We saw some great pictures on WhatsApp and also on your Facebook, and probably on your on the Instagram as well. But some great kind of pictures of the city. Tell us a little bit about your trip.
Yeah, so second time in Northern Ireland. I was there last time Finland played a qualifier, which was much less enjoyable. It was that was the end of the mixel, around the end of the mixel reign. But yeah, moving on to this time, mate, it was brilliant. Had a really good time. Had a couple of days in Belfast and the surrounding countryside. Got myself up to see the Giant's Causeway, which was interesting. Very wet, so got soaked through. But you know, what can you? I suppose that's the weather in Northern Ireland. You know what I mean? But now the sun did come out later, but it was it was fabulous. But Belfast itself, if you've if listeners have never been, then it's well worth a visit. It's wonderful city. Everyone's very friendly. As a Finland fan, everyone was very welcoming. Either the Republic of Ireland supporters saying that we really hope that you beat Northern Ireland, or the or the Northern Ireland supporters themselves, who were very welcoming and just out to have a good time with us and enjoy a few beers and see a decent game. So yeah, it was really good, mate. The SMU Corps made themselves at home in one of the local pubs, and that was the meeting point for the first few days. And there was a few beers had, but it wasn't too fuzzy for match day. So I managed to sort of get me full my Belfast fry, which is like a full breakfast that they do over there. Get that down me and get ready for the game. But yeah, it was brilliant. Windsor Park has seen a fair bit of renovation since the last time I was there.
You mentioned that, I think. In the piece you did with the Northern Ireland podcast.
That's right.
You mentioned that last time it was mostly closed down, so it looked like a nice little stadium, actually.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, we were actually in the same section that we were in 8 years ago.
There's a funny little piece in the corner there, that funny little stand sort of facing the corner and then round the side.
That's right. Yeah. So we got that bit, and it's the same section that we were in last time, but the other three sides of the stadium are actually finished now. Right. So yeah, it was, and it's really nice. It's like quite enclosed. There was a beautiful sunset come down just as the game was starting, so it was really good. But yeah, there was about, I suppose there's about 700, 800 Finns away fans in the away section. Full singing for the full 90 minutes, as you would expect. The SMU Core Capos kept us going with the full repertoire. There was a couple of new songs have come out for this Euro campaign.
Okay,
so,
interesting.
So I'll send you a little link to where they've come from, so you can have a look. But there was a few people scratching their heads trying to work out the words to the latest chants. But yeah, it was brilliant, really, really good. And obviously we'll get on to the result. But yeah, the result really helped keep the spirits up, and we managed to party late into the night celebrating. But as I said, the Northern Ireland fans were there with us even after the game. They was hanging about in the pubs, and some of them must have had work the next day. I'm glad I didn't. But but yeah, they congratulated us on a fantastic victory, and rued their own missed chances. But they'll keep their spirits up for the next games, I'm sure.
It was noticeable the noise that you guys were making during the game, and then especially at the end. I didn't know if they'd kept you in to let the home fans disperse a bit, or if you just stayed there because you were partying. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Ali, do you want to sort of give a bit of a overview of the game?
Yeah, I mean this game was sort of dubbed as Michael O'Neill's homecoming. He had been one of, if not the most successful Northern Irish managers, at least in the last 50 years, I would say. And he left, I think, in about 2016 to dabble in the Championship, and then he's come back to take the reins at Northern Ireland again. So they were bang up for it, from what I could tell. There was probably a little bit of emotion involved as well, and we managed to capitalize on that. I think that the start, Northern Ireland started pretty well. I thought they were puffing and puffing without really doing like too much. And then, yeah, we managed to get the goal from Benjamin Chalman, a Pukki assist. How much Pukki really knew about that assist, I think, is debatable. But it still counts as an assist. It
Do you
still
think it
goes
wasn't an
towards-
intentional assist?
Well, I wouldn't want to say exactly what's going through his head. He's a professional footballer, and I'm not. But I mean, you've got to be in the right positions. Pukki swung a leg at it. It landed at Chalman's feet, and yeah, I mean, it's sort of his first touch was good, but it was still a little bit behind him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they sort of had to dig it out. And yeah, I mean, that was around the half an hour mark, wasn't it? I think, and yeah, really good start. And then when it goes to 1-0, there is always that feeling, of course, when you're away from home, that the home team are still going to have their moments. And I mean, Northern Ireland did create a few more chances, but I thought as soon as we got that goal, I mean, Pukki had that sort of double chance where he forced a double save from their keeper, sort of maybe about 5 minutes after that. And then you think, well, if we get a second goal just before half time, that could really kill the momentum. Because yeah, as I said, there was definitely a lot of emotion from the Northern Irish fans and sort of around their camp because of the homecoming. But yeah, got into half time 1-0. And then at least, from where I was sitting, it felt like it was a pretty 50-50 game. There was a great save actually just before half time by Luca. On 43 minutes. He's clearly in a good vein of form right now, just at the right time for us. Obviously, as we said earlier, maybe a little bit unfair that he got 3 goals past him, but could also have been a few more if it hadn't been for him. And then it goes into the second half. Again, a lot of huffing and puffing, it felt like. I mean, it wasn't a game full of quality. Josh McGuinness, who I feel like must be about 45 now, I feel like he's been around for a long time. Does he play up front? Does he play centre back? I don't know. He seems to pop up everywhere. Yeah, couldn't tell you where he plays now. He feels like he's a Football League journeyman. He had a good chance on 56 minutes. Probably could have done better. It sort of bobbled up in front of him. But yeah, then after that, of course, it was pretty nervy on the TV. I imagine it was even more nervy in the stadium for you, Keke, but managed to hold on. And yeah,
I wrote that exact same word actually, Ali. I used the word nervy. It was about 15 minutes. It felt like Northern Ireland pressure. That's what I wrote down from 67 minutes onwards. From about 50 minutes onwards, they'd had 15 minutes of pressure. And then it started to turn for us in the final 20 minutes, started to get back into it. But it was horrible. And luckily they weren't good enough to really to score, obviously. But I couldn't help but feel it was inevitable. Do you know, I've been watching AFC Wimbledon every game for the last 2 years, and I know what it's like when a team goes 1 up, and the inevitability that you're going to end up losing 2-1 to a team that is below you in the table or weaker than you theoretically. So yeah, I wasn't feeling super optimistic, and when I could see that the tide was starting to turn, I relaxed a little bit. Maybe cracked open my 3rd can of the game. Keke.
It was nervy was definitely how when that 4th official come out and found 7 minutes from somewhere and the stadium announcer said there's going to be 7 minutes of added time, we were just like, oh my God, do you know what I mean? It was and yeah, we've been the victim of late goals before, and it was just like, please do not let us concede now, we're almost there. But yeah, I mean, what I would say about Northern Ireland, if they could keep a shot down, they might have had some chances. A lot of they got into some half decent positions, but a lot of their shots were off target. They sort of blazed them over the bar. But they did manage to get the ball in the back of the net, but they were adjudged to have handled it in the whether it was does it need? Don't even need to be intentional handball anymore, does it?
Mm.
It just hits you. You've had it. So yeah, luckily the ref decided to give us the benefit of the doubt there and called a handball.
And that was
But,
on 62
yeah,
minutes, Keke. So that was right in that
right in
15 minutes of pressure.
in
If
that
they'd got
period.
it could have crumbled, couldn't it?
But having said that, you know, we were under a bit of pressure. But having said that, I mean, Rasmus Schuller, he's had an absolute monster of a game. He's he must have covered every single blade of grass, and he was doing his job with diligence and doing it well. You know, he was having a little tug when he needed to, without the referee seeing. He was really tenacious. That's the best way I can describe it. Really, he had an absolute stormer of a game. I actually thought Nikolai Alho played well. He was drawing fouls when he needed to, slowing down the play, breaking up the Northern Ireland attack. Sort of, you know, getting his big bottom in the way there and drawing the foul. So he played well. Ivanov again was a monster. He was heading everything. He had a chance himself actually to score for Finland, which I think just went over as well. So so yeah, there was some really good performances across our side.
Mark, we were talking about the formation against Denmark being 4-4-2, and that continued in this game with you know the same four across the defence. Richard Jensen went off actually with a bit of a head injury, and it looked like there was a bit of a lump on the side of his head.
Yeah, he got a proper welt.
Yeah, but the team or the formation of the team stayed the same. Would you have expected us to be a bit more outgoing against Northern Ireland, or do you think it was because it was away that we set the same formation?
Well, no, I mean we were still pretty offensive. I mean, like we struggled in the second half when they turned up the volume to an extent, because they had a lot of the possession and they went forward a lot with numbers. But to Keke's point, they didn't really have that. Like, okay, they had a goal disallowed, which was a pretty clear handball, but they didn't really cut us open that much. Like, we were never really down to sort of like even off and Bison at the back. Like, we were never really exposed in that many ways. So the 4-4-2 this time kind of kept us going quite well. I was a bit surprised to see Suhonen start, because I thought Antman obviously got his goal, and in addition to the goal, he was quite good against Denmark. But I think Suhonen's he seems to be a bit better in the defensive cover. He's a bit more disciplined, kind of coming backwards. And but I think, I mean, tactically, I think when Ireland tried to sort of flood the midfield, it didn't matter if they won lots of the ball, because by the time they got up to Charles or what it was Conor Washington at the start, and then I think Magennis was there, but went walkabout like he always does. they couldn't really get it from the midfield overload into the forward areas. So we did quite well. Keke's point about Schiller is spot on. He was absolutely fantastic. I don't know what his pass completion rate was, but I mean, I don't think he lost. It didn't look like he lost the ball at all. So he was just Mr. Reliable again in the middle of the pitch.
As was Glenn Kamara alongside him as well. The pair of them together is solid, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Glenn goes without saying. He's been a bit unlucky at Rangers this season, because he's not been playing that much. But for us, I mean, he's still able to sort of take the ball and run through players and carry it forward. So he's just a fantastic player. And I think it was Peltola that came on for Jensen that covered the ball back. He did all right.
Did all right.
Yeah, and that Bradley kid on the left, he was or their right or left, he was a bit of a piece of work. He was getting stuck into some meaty challenges, and so I thought Peltola did pretty well against the physical battle there.
I mean, Ali mentioned that the assist goes down to Teemu Pukki with his last little touch, but Robin Ludd, who we've talked about previously from the Denmark game, he made that goal really, and that's exactly the sort of thing you want to see from Robin Ludd. You know, like dropping the shoulder, making a bit of space for himself, tight with the ball at his feet, and finding his teammate.
If you catch the replays on YouTube, pause it and go minute by minute, because Ludd's on the edge of the box. He's got two players, I think it's Lewis and Brown on him. he does the turn, and for us, if you get the timing right when you pause it, you can see the two of them go, what? Like, where is it? Where's it go? And Lodge just disappeared out the back. It was technically a fantastic move. Yeah.
Yeah, we need, you know, as we said, he's one of our most technically gifted players. We just want to see more and more of that from Robin Lod, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this leaves the group now after 2 games. There's six teams. Everyone's played twice. And as I said at the start, Slovenia sit at the top with 2 wins, 6 points. Then you got Denmark, Kazakhstan, Finland, and Northern Ireland all played 2, won 1, lost 1, so all on 3 points. And then San Marino, the strongest team of the group, at the bottom, holding everyone else up.
Yeah, we're surprised about that.
Yeah,
Down there.
yeah, quite right. That said, after 2 games, they've only let in 4 goals, so you know they haven't been spanked yet. But I hope it's coming.
Well, I mean, so Northern Ireland struggled to score 2 past them, you know, and I think you could see a little bit of that against us. Like they didn't, you know, and I think we can hopefully expect something similar from Slovenia because they also sort of struggled against San Marino. So San Marino a bit better than they used to be. They're not exactly whipping boys anymore, but we should still be able to put a couple more. We've got more power up front than Slovenia and Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
So onwards to the next games. These are in the middle of June, where we play Slovenia at home Friday 16th, and then San Marino at home on the Monday. Is it Monday 19th? So we're hoping to get down for the Friday game and have a night or 2 out in Helsinki. That will be very nice. Thank you very much. Exactly. Yeah. So if you're around, Mark, and you fancy a little drive over from Portugal and a game of football, let's do it.
Couple of tinnies, yeah, no bother.
Sounds good. Before we wrap up, let's just a couple of little bits of looking forward. Keke, you shared with us earlier about the Helmeret games that are coming up. Do you want to just introduce those?
Yes, mate. I mean, we're just getting over this one, and the football never stops. The ladies team, the Helmeret, have announced a couple of games against Slovenia. Slovakia, the other team in Slovakia. They're playing Slovakia in Slovakia twice. Yeah, next week I think they are. So Marco Saloranta's released a squad today, very similar to the squad that played the last couple of games. Mixture of experience and some of those younger players in there again. So yeah, we'll look forward to that and see how they get on. Looks like a little training camp. There won't be a cup like there was at the end of the Cyprus Cup, but yeah, the girls will get away and see what they can do against Slovakia.
Well done. And Ali, the Veikkaus League is about to start.
Yeah, it is.
Excited?
Well, I am excited. Of course, it's like, you know, kid at Christmas when it's always the weekend before the league opening. One of the reasons why I'm really excited about it is I really think it's quite open this season. Of course, you know, Hoyakor might start as favourites, but there's a lot of questions that I don't know the answers for right now in terms of some of particularly at the top end of the table. So I'm curious, I'm excited, looking forward to the Veikkaus Liga starting.
And there's a first game seems to be Saturday the 1st of April, and then there's a full looking at the Veikkaus Liga website, and then there's a full fixture list on Wednesday the 5th, and I guess that's scheduled just before the Easter weekend. But before that, even tomorrow evening, that's Thursday the 30th, Asikor got one final practice game against Kups, so it might even get to see Urho Nissilä in action, who's just come back to Kups on loan or on a short-term deal for a few months. Yeah. So that'll be something, and I guess we'll come back. Well, there was one thing that Ule is showing some Veikkaus Liga games this season, first time for quite a while. Maybe one a month. It's not sort of a huge program, but it's something. And
Live at what time, Mark?
Well, this is the thing. My stepson Dobius came in today and he was chuckling to himself, and he said, "Oh, Ule are showing the Veikkausliiga games, but they have to start later so they don't clash with Pikkukakkonen, the kids' TV programs on Ule. So one game will be kicking off at 6:15 next week. I think it's the.
Here you go.
It's I did have it ready. It's Hoiko Honka will be starting at 6:15 on Wednesday the 5th, and all the other games will be kicking off at 6. So those nippers, they need their bedtime TV, and no football can get in the way of it.
Quality.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be back maybe just after Easter, maybe over the Easter weekend, if we've all got a little bit of time to look back at the first few fixtures. But until then, listener, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next show. Ali, good to talk. Thanks for joining.
Kiitos, moi moi.
Keke, thanks for joining. Nice to see you.
I saw me on.
And Mark Hayton, the return of the Mark. Good to have you here, and don't stay away so long.
I'll be back.
You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.